Hello, Illinois Tech. This is Sonia Kamdar, your host for this episode of Unfiltered with a special edition. These past two episodes, we've covered important campus issues and how they're impacted students. This episode, however, we're going to talk about student struggles specifically. Earlier this month, we sent out a form online asking for students to submit their stories of struggles that they've either faced in the past or are currently facing. Afterwards, we picked a few of those stories to have a mix of faculty and other students read and react to. Inspired by a similar BuzzFeed video, the goal for this project was to raise awareness amongst the IIT community that everyone has a backstory and not everything that you see with someone is usually a holistic impression of who they really are. We wanted to give professors and advisors a chance to see a side of students that they usually don't, and to also give students a chance to see that, wow, maybe professors and faculty do understand and care. Anyways, before we let you listen to this anonymous student's story, I do want to preface by saying that a lot of topics mentioned are heavy topics and they could be a trigger for some. Now let's take a look at who is riding the student struggle bus.
Growing up as a first-generation, ethnic, mixed American was hard. I've accepted that at this age, society and family had done me wrong in many ways. Has it made me stronger? Truth be told, no.
In preschool, everything was relatively hunky-dory. My family never fought, everyone got along. I had many friends, and my sister and I were happy children.
This all changed when we moved before I started first grade. Back in the day, it was a whitewashed suburban neighborhood. Short story, my parents started working more and later hours. I rarely saw them, and my sister and I had to assume responsibility for ourselves. Second grade came and everything went terribly. I made two horrible friends who bullied me and played manipulative games on me. My teacher would join in and publicly humiliate me in front of my class when given the opportunity, and punish me when the two bullies lied to her without asking for my side. Both of my dad's parents died, and he spiraled into a depression for a while. My parents started to fight and drink more, and overall the year did a complete 180.
After second grade, things only got more violent and ruthless. I can remember every time staying up all night while my parents either fought with each other or fought with us, and having to go to school the next morning like nothing was wrong. Around 4th and 5th grade was when the abuse started to get worse. I can tell you stories about how I remember waking up at 2 a.m. to see my mom had gone through a glass door, blood everywhere, while fighting, or desperately pushing the dinner table in front of me as a barrier when knives were being thrown at me, or sleeping in the shed, my trunk, my bathroom floor, and under my desk to escape them. And aside from home, school wasn't easy, with people bullying me because of my looks and people of my own ethnicity not accepting me because I was mixed.
It first started in 5th grade, a vivid memory when my mother had just finished a brutal beating and ripped all my art in front of me for having been doodling cartoons in my school notebook. That was the first time I cut myself. I was numb, sad, angry, but by far exhausted.
It became my go-to when I needed to cope with my life. Yes, I reached out to people. The 3 instances I did, one cried and went home, one brushed it off and sent me back home, and the other stopped being my friend. After that, I just stopped trusting people. By my 8th grade, my sister had decided enough was enough and ran away, which she continued to do for the next 5 years, on occasion coming home just to run away again after she restocked on clothes and food. My 2 grandparents were sickly, and it left my mom to have to take care of them because her 4 other siblings didn't contribute at all. I have a minor hatred for my extended family on both sides, constantly commenting on my weight and looks till I developed anorexia and bulimia. The abuse only got worse with stress, and it was concentrated on the only daughter left in the household.
During high school, I never really had the time to hang out with people and never made it to birthday parties. How was I to tell my friends every time, sorry, can't make it to your birthday? My parents started going ape on me, and now I'm sitting in the shed crying and hurt. Maybe next time. Lucky for me, there were times of peace. My parents started to work out of state, and I didn't see them as frequently, but during which I would be looking for my sister and trying to give her money, essentially supporting her and making sure she was okay. On the other hand, I was consoling my parents individually because my sister running away put immense mental and emotional stress on them.
I'm not saying my parents are complete victims, but they went through a lot. My dad was so worried for my sister and looked for her for hours on a hot summer day because he thought she was missing. My father even had to change jobs because of my sister. All the meanwhile, my mother had to deal with her parents' deteriorating health and help her sister and family deal with an abusive husband. Anyways, during this fiasco, I had to juggle maintaining my academics, taking care of my sister/parents, working, school-mandated therapy for 10 years, the abuse and bullying, and the self-hate that had built up after many years. I ended up imploding internally, and after my third overdose/suicide attempt, I went to a boarding school senior year to finally focus on me and healing. I did relatively well and all seemed okay until I went back home at the end of high school for the summer. Long story short, my parents went ape again. I became manic, and I ended up putting myself in 2 abusive relationships 2 different times, after getting raped and sexually assaulted by these men individually. It didn't hit me until a year later when I stopped drinking so much how bad it had affected me. I started to develop major anxiety, depression, it came back, and night terrors, where I would wake up having scratched my face off in the night. I was diagnosed with bipolar depression and mania and PTSD.
To this day, at the age of 21, I'm still struggling. Every day I have to keep myself safe from the anxiety, depression, mania, and trauma and tell myself I am okay. I still tell myself to hold my ground with my parents, but turn into a child when they go off on me. I can't tell my professors that I spent the last 10 hours being yelled and beaten by my parents. I can't tell the world how much I'm struggling and how tired I am because everyone struggles. And in terms of school, as my professor told me this morning, there are consequences.
I know there's a lot more that I didn't tell and that I haven't made specific, but truth be told, even now I don't want to face my life. I'm literally just trying to float on by and keep hanging on to the little things. I understand the immense hardships my parents must have gone through and struggled to cope with while raising a family. I understand society's inability to accept/adapt to change. I love my family with the bottom of my heart, and at times we are the best of friends. But will I ever forgive them and the people who shunned and bullied me? Never. Wow. There's an awful lot in 2.5 pages. It seems, in some respects, just unreal. Every time you think, there's the story, then the next paragraph, no, there's more to the story. It actually gets worse.
I don't know if I've ever met someone here, at least knowingly, and have known that they've gone through something that difficult. I guess it makes me wonder how much goes on behind the scenes in people's lives when, I'm upset at them for a group project or as they're just walking by and I have no idea, because these are the kind of stories that lend themselves to staying secretive.
It's very hard just to look at someone and kind of know who their story is, because everyone has a story and everyone struggles through things, but it's not written on their chest or on their arm. They don't carry it on a piece of paper like this depicting their story.
Certainly hope that this person would be able to get some outside attention from student affairs people at the school, from a therapist certainly, to go through these kinds of issues and get tools to be able to cope with getting through life, getting into adulthood, not feeling the guilt that ironically seems to affect people who themselves have been abused. Getting to a point in your life where you can wake up and at least feel stable and feeling like you can go on and move forward into better things.
There's only so much I can do as far as that goes. But really working with other facilities on campus, I have directed some students to the right individuals on campus before. So I'm getting more and more comfortable in knowing exactly where to send students who might be at risk or who might be struggling with issues such as this.
I hope that whoever wrote this and is watching can at least feel some comfort that at least people can try to empathize to the best of their ability.
I don't have the answer to what this person is going through, but I could just be that source where this individual can vent, or I'm pretty sure there's many other people.
And hopefully she feels like there is that chance. There's the chance that there's always a chance. As long as you're living, as long as you don't give up, there's always a chance where you can get out of this situation that maybe has anything to do with what you did. But you can get there. It's going to just take some time. It's going to take some help.
That was truly an impactful video. When I first read it, my reaction was similar to the reactions that we saw. I happen to know this individual personally, but I will keep their identity confidential. However, if you were to meet the student on a day-to-day basis, or even if you befriended them, you would have never been able to guess that this is what their life was like and is currently like. They have a tattoo on their arm, actually, that signifies the battle they've been facing in life and gives them the motivation to move on in life. I think this really is a part of this individual that most people see. On the outside, they come off as a bubbly, happy, carefree kind of person, but this really shows that what you may see with someone could really just be an outer layer hiding a deeper past and a deeper struggles within themselves. I think this is really important to keep in mind whenever you happen to be annoyed at someone who seems to be snapping at you for no reason, or when a friend seems to just be bailing or blowing off plans all the time. We're all struggling, some more than others, but each struggle is meaningful and important to the individual. While we unfortunately did not have enough time in this video to fit in all of the other stories and reactions that we did want to share some of the reactions from some of the individuals who reacted to other stories as well.
Part of me is so sad that this is this person's experience here at IIT.
I completely understand, just given the fact that I'm also an international student and I also transferred into IIT. But then again, IIT has a strong community, at least from my perspective, and a lot of support amongst students that helps us look at each other and realize that times get hard, things turn really crappy, and depressive moments happen. But the fact that we're all outspoken about them, don't get labeled as sociopaths, at least not in the College of Architecture, is what kind of gives me hope at the end of the day.
It's easy to think that you're alone during situations, and it's easy to see the friends that are not there for you, but there's always someone around.
But I agree. I like that, we can't just assume that the folks that are being positive and keeping smiles on aren't hurting or aren't going through things. And I do appreciate the positive attitude that this student has, because I think sometimes it's really easy to have a negative attitude. But
I think that what you're going through is completely understandable given these circumstances. I understand why you're saying it's such a dark semester, it's such a dark 4 years. It is very much my hope that it'll be a more hopeful chapter after graduation. It sounds like you have the sense that it might be. And so carrying that with you, I think, is going to be important.
Basically, students care, professors care, advisors care too. People in general usually care, but we don't always take the time or aren't always able to communicate and give others the chance to care and understand. If there is one main takeaway we want you to take from this special edition episode, it's to be mindful of your peers, of your professors, of your students, your colleagues, and in general, just everyone around you. Everyone is facing struggles you can't see, because in the end, who really is riding the struggle bus? All of us. Thanks again for watching. Leave suggestions for future topics in the comments section below, and tune in for the next episode of Unfiltered. As always, bringing you the news as it is, unfiltered, uncensored, and unapologetic.